3D printing, a marvelous technology that has been making headlines recently, and for good reason. But where did it come from, and where will it take us next? What exactly is 3D printing, and why has it become so popular recently? 3D printing is the process of taking a digital model of virtually anything and using an additive process to add layer upon layer until a physical representation of that model is created. In contrast to traditional methods of manufacturing, which are almost solely subtractive, with a machine removing material from a blank, 3D printing and additive manufacturing allows for less waste and much more intricate designs. This method of manufacturing began in the 1980s when multiple engineers from around the world began tinkering with the idea of printing something on 3 different planes. The most prominent of these engineers was Chuck Hull, who was able to build the first fully functional 3D printer and create a file format used for the printing instructions, known as the STL file format. His thinking was that if a computer can use a file, such as a Word document, as the instructions of what to print for a book on a 2-dimensional plane, then why could they not do the same in 3-dimensional space? How exactly does this work then? The process begins with either the user designing a unique model or downloading a design file that someone else has created. The files may be in the STL format, which is still used, or many of the other formats now available. Users can create their designs on a wide array of applications, ranging from very detailed programs such as AutoCAD, or to more user-friendly programs such as Autodesk 123D. The programs are used to design the object in 3-dimensional space that can be then transmitted to the printer. There are multiple different methods of 3D printing as well, but the most commonly used now are fused deposition modeling, or FDM, selective laser sintering, or SLS, and stereolithography, or SLA. The FDM method is where a polymer is extruded out of a nozzle, and each layer fuses with the layer below, hardening almost instantly after being extruded. This method is the least sophisticated due to the limited amount of materials that can be used to print with, but is also the most economic. SLS utilizes a laser that is pointed at a vat of powdered material, and wherever the laser strikes the material, it will instantly fuse at that point, continuing layer upon layer until the object is finished. This method is unique in that it can be used on almost any solid and malleable material available. The SLA method of printing also uses a laser, but instead of fusing a vat of powder, it hardens a special resin layer by layer. Like most emerging technology, 3D printers were at first large and expensive, making them only available to corporations with a lot of resources. But now 3D printers are becoming more and more accessible to the general populace, since the technology is becoming more affordable, and now one can be had for as little as $300. This is monumental for the technology because it will inspire even greater leaps in terms of the potential uses of 3D printing. Now that anyone can have access to the technology, more people will be able to experiment and try new things that were not possible before because of the cost involved. The possibilities are endless. Want to make a random model or toy for your children? Print it. Have an idea for a new invention? Print it. Need a replacement part for an appliance or something around the house? Print it. Want to create a life-size model of a stormtrooper or any other object? Print it. With this technology, if you're able to digitally model or find a pre-designed model, then you can print it, ranging from DIY projects such as fixing things around the house to replicating complex geometry. You can have access to creating it all yourself. Whether you make little knickknacks or create a model of the human heart, we are now only limited by our imagination. Even more remarkable is that in a few short years, this technology may very well be able to save your life. Every day, 18 Americans die waiting for an organ transplant that will never come because of so few available donors. But a new process known as bioprinting is hoping to change all of this. Scientists have been able to grow cells in petri dishes for years, but have had difficulty creating a fully functional organ because of the complexity and time involved. Often the organ would die before being completed. Now scientists are able to create a skin graft for a burn victim in less than 2 hours, or print ears and bones in less than a few days. Printing biomaterial in many ways is only slightly different than printing a plastic case for your cell phone. Medical scientists first gather cells from an individual or stem cells and allow them to multiply in a petri dish. These cells are then fed into a 3D printer as a sort of biological ink that is precisely arranged by the printer into the desired cell structure. This new tissue is then integrated with the already existing tissue of the patient. While the technology has not yet reached the point of being able to completely replicate a fully functional human organ, it is quickly approaching a reality. With this comes endless possibilities for not only providing longer and better life for people everywhere, but also could be a vital piece in the puzzle of curing many diseases. These new printable organs would give researchers an exact replica to use for testing different vaccinations and medical treatments. The results would be more reliable and informative than testing performed on animals or synthetic models. In the future, we might live in a world where major diseases are cured, and we'll have a readily available source of donor organs to lengthen and improve all of our lives, thanks to this growing technology. The last few decades have seen a radical shift in the way we produce things, and while traditional manufacturing methods will continue to have their place, 3D printing is showing itself to be a viable way of bringing manufacturing into our homes. Once a technology only available to wealthy individuals or corporations, it can now be used by anyone to create anything they want. And while bioprinting is new and extraordinary, it is merely a glimpse of what can be done with this revolutionary technology. With more and more people having access to these devices, only time will tell what amazing creations we will see come out of 3D printers.